Hello, my name is Hussin and I'm a Nuke certified trainer at hussinkhan.com. I will be conducting a digital compositing using Nuke 7 course from the 16th to the 20th of September. This is the first official Nuke training in Malaysia. People have been asking me topics that I will be covering during the program, so I thought I would make a short video going through the stuff you will learn during the 5-day program. At the end of this video, I will provide info on how you can take this course free of cost to you. So let's start. On day 1 of the program, we're going to look at Nuke's versatile interface. And Nuke has a very versatile interface in the sense that you are able to move tabs and panes around just like in Adobe After Effects. There's also an option for you to save layouts and restore layouts. If I want to jump from layout 1 to layout 2, I'll just have to click on that and the layout will change. You can even have a shortcut key, which is Shift F1, F2, F3, F4 and F5. So in this case I've made one for myself, a customized one. If I put Shift F4 and I get this, my favorite layout for Nuke. Then we're going to move on into talking about the differences and the similarities between doing compositing in a layer-based software, something like Adobe After Effects, and how it works in Nuke. Those who have After Effects background, then those would be a good thing for you to understand of how things work in a node-based system. Then we're going to talk about Nuke's layers and channel system. As you know, we have channels RGBA in any compositing software. We're going to talk about how this is useful in a layer system such as what we have in Nuke. Nuke can store over 1,000 layers, and in each layer we can have up to 4 channels. After which we're going to talk about pre-multiplied images and how is it important for a compositor to know what pre-multiplied and unpre-multiplied images are. This is a very big topic and it's a very important topic that you understand right up front. Then we're going to talk about how you can optimize the script in Nuke. Even though you may see that that's a black area here which you think Nuke will not render, in fact it will. So we need to find out how we can optimize the script because sometimes Nuke scripts can become huge and they will slow down. So it's best if you have the understanding of how we can crop or optimize the system using perhaps a crop node like this, and cropping things down which are not necessary so Nuke does not render the outer part of this image. We will also look at another tool called the curve tool, and this works in tandem with the crop node, so we can automate the crop instead of doing it manually. And then we're going to jump into multi-pass compositing. If you're coming from an After Effects background, you will understand that the layer system is how it works, and you stack images one top on another and it appear in the viewer. In Nuke, what we have what we call a multi-pass compositing using a merge tool. And we will find out how we can do this in Nuke itself. And we will also talk about the AOVs and what they are. Stands for arbitrary output variables. Just before we end the day, we will talk about what flipbooking is all about. It's basically previewing your script using a built-in software called Frame Cycler. Okay, that's it for day 1, and let's move on to day number 2. On the second day of the program, we're going to start off with looking at color management and lookup tables. In any compositing software, color management and lookup tables is very important for you to understand. Then we're going to move on to transformation nodes, the nodes which allows animation to be done. So if I will see an image over here and we want to create a transformation, we'll look at this black constant here that we want to transform. So we'll bring up a transform node. This constant over here, just sitting over here, and what we can do is at frame number 1, we can create a keyframe. Frame number 1, then we can move off to frame number 40. All we have to do now is just to move this over here, and the keyframes are being created. So there's actually an animation in between. So if you want to make another keyframe in between, you'll just have to drag it over, and it's as easy as that. And that's the animation part. The next one we're going to move on to is the curve editor itself. So this is the curve editor that comes in Nuke, and we can understand how things work in curve editor. Okay, and how we can manipulate the curve editor and making our animation smoother. We're going to cover the whole range of how the curve editor works. We're also going to jump into the dope sheet, and dope sheet, I think it looks familiar to people who are in After Effects. So you can see all these keyframes over here, and you can start moving keyframes around. So you can see that you can retime stuff, and also we can move keyframes around to lengthen the video or the timeline. So it looks similar to After Effects. It looks like a timeline, in fact. So that's the curve editor and the dope sheet that we're going to cover. And then we're going to move on to visual indicators. So if you look at each and every node will have this color bars over here. So these are visual indicators. This here is RGBA and alpha, RGB and alpha. And then we have an A, that means that particular node has animation in between. That A stands for that. And there's a few more visual indicators that we're going to talk about, which is not in this script at the moment, but we're going to go through all of that anyways. Then we jump on to color correction nodes. So in Nuke, we have a lot of color correction nodes which is available in this particular drop down list here. Yeah, the tools that we have. But we're going to cover the important ones such as the color lookup. Usually what you use is the grade. You know, we can just start grading using the grade node to color, yeah, the gain and the lift and stuff like that. And then we probably have something like a color correct node. You can break up into a master, shadows, midtones, offset, and highlights and stuff like that. We're also going to look up at the other ones as well. So there are a lot of color correction nodes in Nuke. We can look at every color node which is available in Nuke. And just before we end day 2, we're going to talk about morphing. We're going to take a very close look at how grid warp works. And then we'll jump into what we call a spline warp. And spline warp works in the way that when you create splines around the image, you can start moving the splines around. So if I would just view that, and you can see I can just move things around. That's it for day 2, and let's move on to day number 3. In day 3, we're going to cover effects and filters, time manipulation, rotoscoping, and tracking for roto. In Nuke, we have tons of effects and filters. It's just over here. Tons of effects here that we can go through stuff like that. So we have even guard rays and stuff. So the common ones are things like maybe a blur node, which obviously blurs the image. We have a defocus node, where there is a slight difference between defocus and blur, and we're going to cover that and see what the difference are. We have obviously a glow node, and we can start glowing stuff up. And then we're going to move on into time manipulation. If you have a sequence of images such as this, we'll be able to use an append clip node so we can fade in and fade out of the image clip, just like any video editing software. And we can also hook up to a few more clips, and then we can fade in and fade out between those clips as well. So that's the append node. We got frame range, we can select a certain frame range for the sequence of images, and we have something like a time echo effect, right? You can see all this extra time echo, and we get plenty more up here in this toolbar, and we will try and see whether we can cover all of them. And then we will cover rotoscoping. So in Nuke we have 2 different nodes. We have the roto node, okay, and then we have rotopane node. So each of them is slightly different. For the roto node, if I were to double click the roto node, you can see that you only have 3 tools here that you can play with. For the roto pane, we have some extra there. We get the brush and eraser, and we have the clone and reveal, we have the blur, sharpen, smear, and also dodge and burn. We can use this to paint on the images. Right, so we're going to cover both of them and see what the functionalities are. And lastly, we're going to talk about how we can use tracking for roto as well. And let's move on to day number 4. On day 4, we will start off with talking about keying and dispill. Nuke has various keying application built into it. We have the hue keyer, the difference keyer, the IBK gizmo, IBK color, the keyer, the primate, key light, and ultimate. We will try and see whether we can cover all of them on day 4. And here's an example of how the keyer works. So we have the image or the sequence of images, a 30 frame of that, and we will put in a green screen keyer. This is actually a very simple keyer. So what I'll do is I'll change the operation to green screen keying, and I just start pushing these handles, and in the alpha channel you can start seeing that the green is being taken out. You make it pure black and white. So green has been keyed, and then we will throw in a key mix node, and if you view that now, you can see that the background is now the checkerboard. Okay, this is very simple and easy keyer node, very useful for quick keying. We also have things like the hue keyer, and we have things like the difference keyer, and obviously the one that probably everybody is familiar with is the key light. So we're going to cover all of these nodes on day 4. The next thing we're going to talk about is rig and wire removal. So we have this image here of this couple in this house, and as the camera pulls out, you can see that there is this rig here on the floor. Okay, and we're gonna use the method to remove the rig. We're gonna use that to remove the rig. Then we're going to talk about corner pinning. Corner pinning and tracking will be one subject. So in Nuke 7 we have a brand new tracker which you're able to do tracking, which we're able to put unlimited trackers. So you can look at this. I've been using this to track the man's hand here, and I've also put it to stabilize, so the whole image is now stabilized. That's pretty much it for day number 4. There's a lot to cover as well. Let's move on to day number 5. Nuke has a very powerful 3D system. In day 5 we're going to talk about the 3D system, the camera projections, UV mapping, 3D transformation, displacement, and lights and shaders. What we have here is camera projection node in Nuke's 3D environment. I have set up here is I have a an image which is using the projector camera to project an image onto the 3D card. That's here. We can also do 3D transformation in Nuke. In this case I have two spheres here, two individual spheres, and what I can do is I can just go to transformation and just move them around. Okay, we're going to talk about this. You have to move objects individually and also using what we call an axis node. Okay, we can move both of them together. Alright, and then we're going to talk about displacement. Here I have an object which is basically a sphere, and I've added a noise to it. It's just a noise. When I use the displacement geo node, it becomes displaced. Right, this is what you see in the 3D. And we're going to go and talk about lights and shaders as well. I can't show much here now, but believe me, we're going to talk more about all this stuff during the class. At the beginning of this video, I promised to show you how you can attend this Nuke class at no cost to you. The Malaysian government is funding for the creative industry. It's called the Creative Industry Lifelong Learning Program, and you can go to cill.my website and you can get more information here. So if you go down to upskilling and reskilling schemes, you have all the criteria that you need to submit, so be able to get the fundings for this particular program. If you have any questions you need to ask about this program, you can always email me at hussin@hussinhan.com. Alright, so I hope you'll be able to take advantage of this, and I will see you at the Nuke training program. Bye bye.